Hi guys, welcome to Sample Tools by CR2, and today I'm going to be showing you how to create some sounds from the Nu-Trance sample pack. I want to start off by showing you how to create some FX impacts. So those are the big kind of boomy sounds that you get at the beginning of a drop or transition, something like that. Now let me play it to you. So you understand pretty much exactly what I'm talking about when I play that impact. And what's great about the one I'm showing you how to create is you can actually make more than one from this group of sounds. So let's start by breaking it down. You got to have a sub in it, okay? That's the kind of the big boomy low end part. And the best way to create that sub is actually to use a synthesizer. Now I've opted for Silent. And it's quite easy to create, so we'll go from scratch. I'll pull up a new Silent and we'll copy what we've already got here. Okay, so let's start by clearing the presets. So we start with a blank patch, and I'm going to use a sine wave for this because I want something fairly clean. We can always make it dirtier later. I've got 4 voices, and I'm bringing it down 3 octaves. You'll see why in a second. The next thing I've got to do is just change the amplitude envelope. So we just want to change the way the volume of the sound is shaped. Okay, so let me just play how that sounds now. Okay, it's really low, so you can barely hear anything. In fact, you could probably hear my MIDI keyboard more than you can hear the sound right now. Okay, let's go over to the filter type. Let's do a low pass, and let's bring the cutoff down a little bit, the resonance up, and we're going to add just a little bit of drive here. I didn't add drive there, but I am going to do it here. I think it's just going to thicken up the sound quite nicely. Next, let's add some cutoff modulation. So I always do cutoff A and B, even if I'm only using cutoff A. It's just habit. Short decay, no sustain, and really long release. And we're going to do a similar one for the pitch. And this is where you're actually going to start hearing the difference in the sound. So let's bring that up. Sustain down, nice and long release. Maybe it's a bit too long actually. And let's increase the pitch. So see, now that's starting to sound a little more familiar. Now let's increase the release here so we get more tail. Is that starting to make more sense now? You can really hear it. Now, when it was down 3 octaves, you could barely hear it, basically. And what's happening is this pitch modulation envelope is firing up the tuning. So it's pushing, essentially think about it like pushing this pitch bender down here all the way up and then slowly bring it down over time. Now, sine waves are great, but they lack a little bit of character, and I always turn to a bit of distortion to increase the harmonic content. So this is probably going to be too much. So let's bring down the amount, let's bring down the dry wet. That sounds about right to me. Now I'm actually playing this much lower on the keyboard in here. I'm playing this on a G -1, and that sounds like this. So we got that nice ground shaking start to our impact, which is really important. What's great about doing it in a synth is you can change the starting note if you want to. That makes it quite easy. Next, I wanted some white noise, and I actually just used the ES1 for this. It's got a noise oscillator on this sub oscillator here, so make sure you pull down the mix slider. Cut off all the way up, resonance about halfway up. A similar ADSR to Silent, And then what I did was I got the modulation envelope to affect the cutoff so that the cutoff opens and then closes. And that sounds like this. So we can hear the white noise decreasing in volume over time, but also in frequencies over 750 milliseconds because of this modulation envelope here. So together they sound like this. Now you could very easily just go ahead with that. I mean, I think they sound fantastic. I put just a bit of a low cut on the white noise, nice and smooth. I wanted to save these frequencies for something else, which I'm going to show you right now. So a crash. Crash is quite classic. Now I use the crash really subtly just to add a little more high frequencies, a bit more high energy, but it's not very loud, as you can hear. Okay, now it's really short, but it becomes a little bit more significant later when we add some effects. Then I've got a clap. Now with the clap, I added sample delay. And I delayed it 30 seconds to the left. Actually, that's not a clap, that's the snare. So I've named them incorrectly. This is the clap. So this is the snare, and this is the clap. And I've done the sample delay, but the opposite, so 30 seconds to the right. And together they sound like this. So they've got this big kind of stereo feel to them, which is going to work really nicely when we add some reverb. I grouped them all together, and then I added some spread. This is just the Logic stereo spread, and I just felt this made things a little wider from 1000 Hertz upwards. Again, it's still sounding a bit dull, but the magic really comes in when you add the reverb. Now, I love the Valhalla Vintage Verb. You can use any reverb you want. This just has a certain epicness to it. What I've done is I've been really careful to ensure that I cut off the low frequencies on the reverb. So the reverb is only producing frequencies between 370 Hertz and 8000. The high cut isn't so important, but the low cut just means that that sub isn't going to sound really out of control when the reverb's added to it. Just 26% mix and quite a long decay, but you'll notice the difference immediately with this. And last but not least, I just put a little bit of EQ to shape it. Now, coming back to what I was saying before about being able to have different styles of impact, is you can take your crash, your snare, which is called clap, okay, and your clap, which is called snare, open them all up, select them, and then you can just move them all up one semitone on the keyboard. And this is, if I move them up one semitone, I basically get a different clap, snare, and crash. So listen to them now. Let's just solo them. And I can move them up another semitone. And again. And you see every time I can create a different impact because we need the sub and we need the noise and we kind of know that, and we could add some effects to those, but that's giving us a huge range of possibilities for this one style of sound. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you in the next video.
Remember, at Sample Tools by CR2, we also offer a mix and mastering service. Just head over to www.sampletoolsbycr2.com, click on the Mastering tab, and you'll find our range of services there.